Welcome to heCast, the official podcast of He Changed It. As always, I am Mike Chisholm. As always, I am excited to have conversations in the, heCast is a podcast for men. I like having conversations around that subject. And when we go into some of the struggles, some of the things that men go through, finding tools to negotiate, to navigate this intense life, this life that seems to be getting more and more confusing as time goes by. You know what? There are tools to make it easier, to make it more fun, to make it, just a much better life. And today's conversation is one of those conversations where I just go, wow, I need to get proactive. I need to start changing some things in my life and moving it in the direction that I know I could move into, and achieve some of the things that I know that I'm destined to achieve. It's one of those conversations. Her name is Dr. Sherry McAllister. Boy, she is a force of nature, and I mean, I look at some of the things that she's doing now. She is educated in all sorts of ways. Started in the traditional medical profession, and then had a car accident and had to go down a different path, ended up being treated and cured through chiropractic medicine and the modality of chiropractics, and has moved down in that direction pretty much as far down the rabbit hole as you can go, at the point where she's helping negotiate policy and working at the very highest level with government, trying to help healthcare. And we get into that a little bit here today, and talking about how the things that need to change. But then we also can boil it right down to, the guy that might be stuck, that's listening to this right now. And how can I take my life and how can I move it forward? Well, health is such a huge part. And I mean, these are all notes. These are notes that I took during the podcast because it's stuff that I'm just interested in looking at. She talks about, your mental life, your physical life, and your emotional life, or your mental body, your physical body, your emotional body, how these things are a triangle. And many times us guys have one of those pieces of that puzzle that gets atrophied, that doesn't get the attention that it needs. Many times it's the mental part for guys. We ignore that, but they're all connected with each other. And we talk about a lot of things in this conversation. We talk about peptides, how people are looking for the easy fix versus let's understand why the fix works. And Sherry is really good at that. She's really good at taking big concepts and boiling them down into simple, actionable, bite-sized ways to improve your life. Very practical. I adore her. I flat out, oh my goodness, I cannot wait to have another conversation with her. She is the host of the Adjusted Reality podcast, and then also the author of the same book. And boy, I just feel not inadequate. When I talk to somebody like her, she's got a big brain, and I'm always like, oh man, I don't have a big brain like she does. But the fact is, she can take what she talks about and through kindness and just expertise, really, really gave me some good food for good thought today. I hope you're going to feel the same way. I hope you enjoy our conversation today with Dr. Sherry McAllister. Okay, Sherry, I am really, really excited to have this conversation with you. I often marvel at things in life where something comes along and people don't really know what to do with it sometimes. And there's some use there, but it doesn't really get explained with the rest of the picture of what life is. I feel like that's the chiropractic industry. I feel like, you guys have just consistently, there's always been something there, but we don't necessarily know what it is as a populace. And now as information really starts to take the forefront and we start learning more things, you start realizing how interconnected all of this stuff actually is. Sherry, I know you have been in the chiropractic modality for a long, long time. Has your entire career just been seeing things? Oh yeah, that checks. Oh yeah, that checks. That checks. Boxes check as we learn how things work.
Well, it has been, and I came from a very awkward beginning, which is I wanted to study the end and not the beginning. And this is where I want to share with you a little bit. So my My goal was to be a pediatric oncologist,
Yeah.
which why I call it the end is because it actually, when you think about it, it's the end of the outcome of dis-ease. And so I thought that treating that problem would make me feel really confident and like a servant that I'm serving that pediatric patient, that young person.
Mhm.
And when you ask, has my whole life been in this realm? The answer is no.
Yeah.
30 years in chiropractic, but I've had 10 years in the medical realm in various positions as from a researcher to a volunteer to being actually in the genetic labs
Yep.
where the children were being diagnosed.
Mhm.
And awkward and beautiful, the path that I have walked is that I recognized after my own very unfortunate car accident that no one could help me,
Mhm.
and I kept taking more pills.
Yep.
So, circling back to I'm doing research to help in this area where children are dying from cancer, and I can't even help myself, and I don't even know what the root cause is. And that's when it all turned around. I got a chiropractic adjustment, and many people out there are listening and they're like, "Yeah, that happened to me." And others are like, "No, that's just weird." But
Yep.
trust me, I was heavily involved in the science, cellular, molecular, microbial biology, and then there was an epiphany that in order to truly be healthy, you have to understand what healthy is from the ground up.
Mhm.
And I think that has been a beautiful journey.
I'm grateful to hear you say it like that because along the way of that beautiful journey, there's been a whole lot of back and forth and infighting and again, growing pains. I mean, when you want to get to you want to grow, you want to grow to 6 feet. Okay, yeah, if you're 5'1", there's going to be some pain in the process of growing from 5'1" to 6 feet. And there just is. What you're talking about, I mean, my gosh, I think and the reason I have a personal connection to it, I don't talk about this too often on here, but my estranged wife and I, we wrote a book together after we went through a process with our granddaughter. Our granddaughter was 18 months old, and we found her at BC Children's Hospital with a tumor the size of my fist behind her tailbone. And all life stops, and we drop everything, and all of us go down to BC Children's Hospital, and we think they're removing a cyst, and then pathology comes back a few days later, and it's like, no, I'm sorry, it's cancerous, you're going to go through 4 rounds of chemo. Now, because my wife has the training that she has when it comes to nutrition, um we would give every single day a bottle preloaded. It had goat's milk. It had, what else it had? Oh God, marine phytoplankton. It had a whole bunch of stuff in it, and that we would give that to our granddaughter every single day. And the oncologist came in one day, and she was looking at our granddaughter's numbers, and she looked up at my wife, and she said, "Are you feeding her steak?" Because her blood numbers were such that they shouldn't be this, but it was because of the nutrition that was happening. And you think about the links between nutrition and health that are they're so logical. They make so much sense. Everybody, you are what you eat, quite literally. And yet we have, I don't even want to call it necessarily a healthcare, like you got medical systems with people with lobbyists and agendas and whatnot saying to do things that aren't necessarily healthy. Now, again, the reason I'm bringing this out to you is because I know I'm preaching to the choir. This is stuff that you have, and you've seen it uniquely because you came from the inside.
Yeah.
Um, how did you, obviously, having your headache 6 months, chronic at this point, completely relieved in one treatment? There are people who are listening to this right now going, yes, I have a phenomenal chiropractor. I was going through this one treatment. It changed my entire, the way I looked at life. And then there are others who look back and they go, oh, no, no, that's just a bunch of hogwash because they just listened to what is thrown out by the media. Have I done a good job of encapsulating
You
the struggle that
have.
you have gone through? Okay.
Absolutely. And what you said, I think paramount to understanding is that there's perspective, and people need to recognize in today's world, and even way before today, being where we are is there are those that want to fully heal and then those that want to push a product. And we have to be as good stewards of our own health and advocates for our own self first,
Mhm.
recognizing that perhaps there's more to the story. And that's what I really appreciate you saying is there is more to the story. And yes, thank goodness they found your granddaughter's tumor. And that's a win right there. Like just finding it is huge. And then when she's little is even better.
Yep.
And then to supplement it and collaborate with someone like your wife who is understanding the nourishment portion of it. And
Yep.
that's what I really want for the entire world is we need to work together and we need to recognize that the business of healthcare is sick
Yeah.
and that the opportunity to optimize is real and it's genuine and it's everything that is good and right. And those are separate forces altogether.
Well, okay, like I say this with my artist friends all the time, my collaborators, my is the stand-up comics, the filmmakers, the writers that are in my life. I say this all the time, where you talk about the idea of business and art trying to collaborate with each other, and it's very, very difficult because art can be this very pure experience, open to interpretation and whatnot. But when you take business, well, now we need predictability. Now we need to sell a product. Now we need to put butts in seats. Whatever we're talking about here. And when you look at the idea of health and business, yeah, there's a lot of collaboration that can be done there. But boy, you want to make sure that that balance. Like, wouldn't it be great if the goal of certain healthcare providers, technologies, whatever, was to put themselves out of business? But unfortunately, that's not the goal. The goal is to stay in business and be more profitable and do all these things. Well, that's really hard when you're trying to cure somebody, when you're trying to make it so somebody doesn't need to be enslaved to whatever it is, whether it's a pill, whatever it is. Mixing the two can be difficult, can't it?
It is, but I'm going to state this for everyone listening, particularly if you have been sick. Number
Okay.
1, it's business is your business. So your business for your own health is yours to own. Just like you own your bank account, you need to invest in your health. So you need to recognize it's your responsibility because so many people put it off.
Yep.
Like one day they're going to wake up and, their bank account is going to be perfect. It's going to be balanced and all the money that went in it just magically takes care of itself. It doesn't work like that. So if
No.
you wanna have a retirement savings plan as an example,
Hmm.
in the finance area, you've
Hmm.
gotta start working at it probably as early as possible. I'm saying in their 20s, but some people will get to their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. We
Hmm.
all get there at some point. Some were gonna be very disappointed because they put it off too long. That's where I think we have to have a reckoning, a full awakening that this is your body. And what happens to your body is your responsibility, no matter what, because no one can do the surgery without your permission. No one can feed you the vitamins without your permission. And
Hmm.
that's where I think when I wrote Adjusted Reality, I wanted the world to wake up. I wanted them to feel refreshed that they're in control, they're ready to go. They have choices to make and they have people to listen to. And one of my very favorite quotes is the by Charlie Tremendous Jones. And I kind of alter it a little bit because it's so important that you recognize it. The person you become in 5 years are based on the books you read, the people you meet, and I wanna say the places you go and the choices you make. Because that person who is sitting listening to this podcast right now is beautiful, strong, and capable, and they're right where they belong by the choices that you've made 5 years ago. You're here right now for a reason. And it was the choices you make. When I wake up in the morning, I'm bouncing out of bed and I'm fully vibed. I'm like on fire, ready to go. I have a hard time bringing my younger staff with me because I don't think they see the same energy that I have. And I'm twice as
Right.
old as them. And I can work 15, 16, 18-hour days because I don't call it work.
Right.
I see it as a passion and a commitment, and that's where I want your listeners to be. Have the passion and commitment to themselves first, and then the other stuff starts to play into it.
It's one of my favorite things in the world. You said it. You kind of beat me to the punch. Like I always talk about the person that's hearing this right now that's stuck, and you beat me to the punch. You came out with, there's somebody right now who is listening to this right now. They're in the time and place that they need to be here to hear this message. And when I hear you talk about it, Sherry, it's empowerment, and the idea that you want to empower these people, you want to promote clarity, and really get to the bottom of things. You are somebody who's actually trying to be a world changer rather than the easy thing to do, which is pick up. There's a lot of money in outrage these days. There's a lot of money in disagreement. There's a lot of money in polarization, and you are near a third rail. You're near a couple third rails with what it is that you're doing. Real quick, can we root out? I know you talk about this on a lot of the other appearances that you do and whatnot, but just for our listeners, real quick, can you map out the route that took you to where you are right now, and what is it that you are doing every day? Because really, at the end of the day, you are one of those people that's up near the top that's trying to make change to policy in order to make our structure more health conscious. And I don't think I'm overstepping it by saying that, but you can correct me where I did. Can you talk about the route that took you to where you are right now and what it is that you're
So,
doing?
so first, I want to congratulate you because you and I are synergistically paralleling the universe together because you're using my words, the root cause, and then you're talking about the ability to really have structure and function come together, because
Yeah.
that's really what chiropractic is in a nutshell. Is that if you can consider the structure of your body, the function is key. And what structurally happens to us is that over time, just like a bridge, there's going to be structural impediments that are going to come. Well, you want that bridge to be safe. So you have to take care of the structure, and the
Yep.
function of letting cars over it is going to be perfect. So we
Mhm.
use the same words, which is beautiful, which means we connect on a different level. My 30-year journey on this experience of chiropractic started with my own accident, led me all the way through that investment in where I want to be in life and what I want to do for people. I want to be a servant, and I want to help people be their very best.
Mhm.
Those are my goals. As I started to see and do, I recognized something very important. I educate, or what I would consider to be edutain,
Hmm.
the youth in my profession, because they're the future, and they need to talk to the patient, so the patient comes with them along there. There's nothing worse than a doctor talking to you about spondylolisthesis and you have no idea what they're talking about, and they're giving you all of the, here's what we need to do, and this is the next step, and this is the MRI, and all of a sudden the patient's like, whoa, you lost
Yeah.
me with the S word. What the heck did you just say? My goal was keep it simple. So my students, when I was teaching cervical trauma, which is when you get, example, a motor vehicle accident, you get
Yeah.
this very heavy force into the body, and the neck structure and function will change based on gravitational forces. There will be an injury. That led me from teaching to practice, and I had a practice in Silicon Valley, 6 minutes from the Silicon Valley airport, and I was blessed with so many beautiful C-suite individuals in the Fortune
Mhm.
500 companies.
Mhm.
So, I saw some very beautiful, high-ranking individuals who were so sick. Who cares
Mhm.
if you make 9 figures? I mean this sincerely. If you're making 9 figures and you come to
Mhm.
me looking like that, I'd rather be poor.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I don't understand why you're making that much money and you're here. And so we had very honest conversations, because at the end of the day, you don't impress me by the number of digits you make. You impress me by the person who you are and the change that you make. That's what impresses me. So I just kept giving the love, and for the love of God,
Mm.
I started getting CEOs from Hong Kong
Yep.
coming to me, and I was like, I'm going to stop for just a second and tell you something very honest, just so you're aware. There are chiropractors between Hong Kong and here. And he'd smile. I remember this like it was yesterday. He'd smile and he'd say, "And they're not you."
Yeah.
That's what made the difference for me is I didn't wanna be their person, I wanted them to be their person. I wanted them to be the person who depended on them. So the journey came from then talking to the executive assistants to filling out the paperwork and being the best kept secret because many of those CEOs did not want to go to their executive physicals before they saw me because then they would know what to do and how to do it and how to show up well so that they didn't get a knock and say, "Hey, we have insurance on you and this is what we're seeing." So many of them will keep it a secret. And this is evidence-based care. I literally had a rocket scientist from NASA. I had top-notch surgeons from Stanford University because they're all in
Yeah.
this little bubble, right? The good speak to the good. Now remember, as listeners, the fruit doesn't fall far from the tree, which means that when you talk to one, you talk to all. So I want you to get out that this podcast is awesome. Talk to people about why you listen. And I think that's what juices the whole system is. It's about the places you go and how you present. So my 30-year journey was on the sidelines with little people watching them pass away
Yeah.
to top notch. I have everything. My Learjet is waiting to go. Can you get me out of your office? And yet they're so sick. Think
Yeah.
about that paradigm shift I had to make to get to where I am today. And that's why I absolutely love what I do. And, research is very important, but more than research is understanding.
Um, I don't think you get you to your perspective without seeing both those things. And I mean, I don't think but seeing both those things is something that's very common at all. I think that it's very rare that somebody who goes in on the, if you want to call it the clinical side, the clinical traditional side, into that ecosystem and then sees what you see and then sees the combination of what you see to get you to that kind of moment of clarity, including the accident, by the way. I include that in there as well because, that gives you that pause that many of us never get. We don't get that pause. Like why don't we focus on our health? Well, the vast majority of people, many times they get up, they go through their day, they go through all the stresses that come with life, and that's what they're dealing with. And that's they don't make it a priority. I don't think that we've necessarily been taught to make it a priority. I all the way going back to school and the relationship that we have with what physical education is as we get educated. Never mind, I mean, this stat comes out all the time, but how many in a 4-year medical degree, how many of those hours are spent on nutrition? Very little.
That's right.
And the reckoning is happening right now when it comes to that, and I think some good things are being looked on in the high places of administration, and that's great, and you're part of that. Actually, can you okay, before we get to the, let's talk about how you heal people and help people, because that's really, I love your heart, Sherry, like I really do. I know that you want to help people, but what you're doing is fascinating, and things are changing because of what's going on right now in the landscape. um Polarizing, it sucks. I'm sorry if if you have to get into fights with people. You seem to have a similar disposition as me, where it's like, hey, I like peace and love. I like collaboration.
Yes.
But but can you talk about what it is that you're doing? Because you're not just, quote unquote, um, a very successful chiropractor that has helped a lot of people. You're not just that person, including high end people. You're not just that person. You're somebody who represents the entire industry, which has a spectrum that is so vast it could probably be divided into 3 or 4 different industries, and probably will be by the time we get this knowledge here. But you represent the entire industry. If you wouldn't mind talking about a bit about that, Sherry, and then we can
Sure.
get into helping the guys that are stuck. How can we help the guys that are stuck? But let's talk a little bit about that, because I think it's really cool what you're doing.
Well, I appreciate that you recognize it first and foremost, because many do not see the level to which chiropractic is growing and thriving, and that my colleagues are starting to really recognize. And in all defense to them, 132 years ago, it was founded by D.D. Palmer, and he was a futurist.
Hmm.
And because he was kind of like Tesla, where you're so ahead of your time that everybody's like, "You said what about what?" I don't get it. And that's okay, because now we're starting to tear apart what he was really meaning and how the value proposition that he brought forward for the future was so incredibly important, which is there is disease care, and that is sick care, and then there is health care, and that's about optimization and performance enhancement. But somewhere in between here is this chasm of alleviation. I need to alleviate the pain that I'm in. Maybe it's acute, maybe you got in a car accident, maybe it's you fell down the stairs. I don't know. But here's the bigger problem is the medical community is suffering. And they're suffering because there's so much out there that is so divided and so polarizing that I want to bring everybody in and say, we're not enemies. And, I often think of a quote that's in The Art of War. And if you'll give me a moment, I'll explain it. So first I'll give you the quote. And the quote is, he who relies solely on warlike measures shall be exterminated. The second part of the quote, which is equally as important, is, he who relies solely on peaceful measures shall perish.
Mhm.
So I give you this art of war because that's where we are right now. There is a difference between the warlike and the peaceful like people. Somewhere in between is the gauge of where we need to be, which is
Mhm.
our own stance and our responsibility to choose, if we have to, what weapon we're going to fight with or how we're going to collaborate with moving forward. This is that very small quantum space that few can slip through, and that's you listening today. This is your job to be in the art of war. You're in what I consider to be the that finite place called the black hole. And you can go anywhere you want, however you want, as long as you're paying attention to what's best for you to keep
Mhm.
you in top notch shape. So I'm going to go back for just a second and say, so how do we get to where we want to go? Well, it comes with, you vote with your feet. So I could talk all day about high level policy, regulations, and legislation, but that's going to be riddled with a bunch of conceptions that
Mhm.
are positive and negative. You go on the other side and you got the peaceful people that are like, oh, it's all love and war and everybody should just take vitamins and go to sleep early. Okay, great. Because there's this beautiful spot that leads right in the middle, and it's you. You vote with your feet. And when I go back to that bank account moment, is there is nothing more important than your health. Nothing. And so when you recognize being in this small black hole that there is nothing more important than your health, then everything falls together. It becomes crystal clear that I am in control, that I get to make the choices, and I am fully responsible. And responsible is a special word, and I want to share it with your audience. Responsible is the responsibility, it's the ability to respond to where you are right now. And I call it kind of like the GPS. We all have a phone right now. And if you got lost, you would be able to say, I'm nowhere, because you don't really know where you are on the longitudinal scale, latitude and longitude. However, if you take a trajectory and you want to say, I really need to know where I'm at, then you can place yourself on a map and you know exactly where you are. Ask my young 20-year-old son. I know where he is on Saturday night at 3 o'clock in the morning. And that's because he went from nowhere, no longitudinal coordinates, to now here with one simple change, which is from here to there. It's the T, it's the trajectory. Where do you want to go? And the where you want to go is a question. And it's only a question that can be answered by you, the listener. And you need to take the time to think. 90% of our day is group chat. When do you take that 10% and actually think for you? Because thought is the most important thing you've ever been given aside from your health, which is I think, therefore I am. I think, therefore I am. What I think about is who I am. What I
Mhm.
eat is who I am. So
Mhm.
contemplate all those thoughts because they're deep. And when you have a moment to just be quiet and let your head basically cleanse from all the noise and you sit in a silent place, what's important to me? What do I want to keep on doing? And that's longevity. What is going to get me on a path to where I want to go? from here to there, and that trajectory is your responsibility.
And yet, here we are with the algorithm of our lives. 6 seconds, 7 seconds of attention span. That's it. Got to keep going. Got to keep going. The noise. I mean, like what you're talking about is so perfect. And it's really unfortunately where I think about, again, I always go back to the guy who's listening to this that's stuck. That's always who I just go back to. Because I love this show. I love the conversations we get into, but really at the end of the day, the guy who's stuck is the guy that we're doing the show for.
Mhm.
And the guy who's stuck many times gets to that place of contemplation that you're talking about, that place of existential crisis, even. And that's unfortunately what it takes sometimes. It takes contemplation at the level that you're talking about. Yeah, people who have learned meditation, people who have learned how to journal, people who have learned how to do some of these personal development things that are out there, as skills. And there are people who have done it. There are industries. Go to the local bookstore, look how big the section is. There's a reason for it. But at the end of the day, we live in a society that is just going faster and faster and faster and faster. And with technology that's around us that is desperately trying to attract our most valuable commodity, which is time. It used to be our data. They got our data now. Now they want our time. And they're finding ways, cutting edge technologies to take our time, in my opinion, to kind of do exactly the opposite of what you're talking about, to not ponder these things because they want to sell you something or they want to get you involved in something. And really, unfortunately, sometimes it does take a marriage ending, someone passing away, a relationship breaking down, whatever that might be, a health crisis, where we actually slow down enough to start pondering these things. So you're an expert in the chiropractic modality, art, whatever you want to call it, but you're kind of a philosopher too, because everything at the highest level is philosophy. But really, it does come down to that place of pondering and questioning, and where is it that I want to go? Do I want longevity? And what does that longevity look like? And my word, that has certainly changed its definition over the last couple decades, hasn't it?
It has. And I'm going to break these two words down. There's health span, how healthy you are and how long you want to live. And then there's longevity, how many years you actually live. We could go esoteric and say, will that take me past death? But we won't because we'll stay focused right here. But because that is a philosophical conversation, if you triangulate when you think back and you get deep into the art portion of health, there are places where triangulation makes sense. It made
Mhm.
sense for our craftsmen, our carpenters,
Mhm.
and because they triangulate everything. It is about math and Fermat's enigma, which many of you are going to go, "What did she just say?" That is a mathematical equation that they said could never be solved, and I'm not going to be a spoiler. So if you ever want to get a book and really get into the depth of a philosophy, get Fermat's Enigma by Dr. Singh, and I think you'll really enjoy it because then you'll have time to think. So back to the longevity. Words mean something very specific. So health span is what an audience like yours should want. I want to live healthy as long as I can, not
Yes.
necessarily longevity. So when we come
Yeah.
to the triangulation of it, it means three things. It means mental, physical, and emotional. And this is where a lot of men get stuck. And I'm going to say this very generally is women have a much easier influence on their emotions. And therefore, they get called, oh, she's very emotional.
Mhm.
It's such a beautiful thing because we do get our emotions. Men have been told over the hundreds of years, suck it up, brother, suck it up. Your emotions don't matter and you have a job to do, so get on it. And I really, raising two boys, really worked hard with them to say, wait a minute, there's a fine balance here that you need to be able to understand because if you can't get a hold of your emotions, then how are you going to play off the other two parts, which are your physical portion, because your emotions do attract the physical. And
Yep.
then there's the mental. Now, someone would ask me this, and most people need to actually take a moment to say, I'm scratching my head. I actually need to think. 'Cause I could give you the answers, but what's the difference between emotional and the second part of that equation, which is mental?
Mhm.
Ah, young Jedi warrior. Now, when you ask those questions, it becomes so much more intriguing because ask and you shall find.
Yep.
Ask the questions. So I liken that whole emotion that men get stuck in to mental. And if you will give me just a moment, the mental portion of this, every man who turns on his computer understands that the computer is going to run a program. Okay.
Mhm.
That is exactly what mental health is. Are you running the program that you want? Now, every woman is going to understand the emotional component, but to bring it back to the man, so if your junk mail is overflowing, your computer is not going to run as well as it should because you got a whole bunch of stuff you never took care of.
Yep.
So if you think of emotional and mental health, they're different. They're logistically different. Your mental health is how the brain is a computer and how it processes. Your
Mhm.
emotional health is the actual capability that it can run the programs that for the hard drive is ready to go, all the processes are in place, but are they being able to execute at optimum? And that's the difference I think men really have a hard time with, is that they need to not only run the programs that are right, but they also need to have all of the hardware in place to be able to run those programs and that they're
Mhm.
not cluttered. And you didn't drop your laptop on the ground and now you can't even see on your monitor what it's saying.
Well, and then I mean, let's throw in that third area. Let's throw in physical. I mean, gosh, if all you're doing all day, and no offense to people who this is where you're at this point, but if all we're doing all day is eating Twinkies and playing video games and smoking pot, guess what? The mental and the emotional aren't going to be working as well. But if we do get out for some movement, and I'm not talking go get a trainer, and I mean, like, don't get me wrong, I love that. I have a weight trainer in my life. He's amazing. He's unbelievable. He trains me in the gym. It's awesome. It helps my emotional. It helps my my mental. Going there, working out with Nico, and having that happen. But get up in the morning and go walk for 20 minutes. Guess what? Your emotional and your mental, are going to be aided. They're going to work a little bit better than if you did just, eat the Twinkies, smoke the pot, play the video games. And I mean, I'm using that as the most generic example that most people can kind of get on board with, because if I go even a little bit less generic, sometimes people are going to be like, "Hey, stop judging people and their lifestyle and all that." Okay, 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 okay. Hold on. If you have a little more physical of a lifestyle, whatever that looks like for you, it's going to help. Can we all agree on that? And some of the things that I love some of the things that you promote, like the practical. Let's get into some really easy practical things right now. Because we are changing. There's a scene in one of the Terminator movies. I forget which one it was. There's so many of them now. I forget what it was, but there's a time travel element to it, and it's somebody traveling from the 80s and traveling into the teens, somewhere in the 2000s, and it shows them looking around at the world, and then suddenly it flashes to a world, and there's everybody around them, and everybody has a device in front of them, and it's very jarring. It's very jarring. You and I talk about growing up, going to Bedrock City and all that. Okay, it's a very different populace when you look at the people in Orchard Park Mall now versus Orchard Park Mall all those years ago. It's very different, and the devices have actually changed our structure. They're threatening to change the structure of our physicality. I'm just throwing a whole bunch of stuff out there because I know you have solves for this stuff, and it's great to play in your pool, Sherry. Let's talk a little bit about how we can practical things that we can do to improve our physical health.
So, improving physical health, I'm going to just triangulate back for just a moment because I think this is crystal clear example because some of the men right now are listening and they're like, "Wow, she talked about Fermat's enigma and then she jumped into the
Mm.
to the black hole." I want to make it really crystal clear. When your physical health is impacted, you have to look at your mental health and your emotional health. I'm going to
Yep.
jump into physical health in just a moment, but I'm going to go back for a second.
Okay.
Let's just say you lose your job. Okay. It's a simple thing. Someone out there has lost their job. when the mental health is influenced, they're going to think about, how do I pay my bills? What are the next steps that I need to do? How do I concentrate on finding a new job? That's the mental health component. Now, the emotional side of this is where a lot of men will say, I don't want to deal with it. So I want them to understand, can they acknowledge the feeling of disappointment or even being fearful? Can they process that unfortunate loss of jobs, which comes with some of the friends that they lose? And then can they support and ask for help? Can they recover from the emotional side of losing that job? Now, that's just one
Mhm.
piece of it. Now I want to pull into the physical exam. So I have my mental health, which is my mind, thinking, reasoning, memory, perception, that psychological part that we all are grasping with every day when we pick up our cell phone. Then I have
Mm.
the emotional part, which I rarely give time to, which is the understanding, the expressing, how do I manage my feelings, which often we say, oh, that's kind of my female side. You can choose however you want to put this together. But now you ask me a question, how do I deal with my physical? And this is where it does me no good at all to talk about physical if your mental and your emotional are out of whack, because we're triangulating a perfect system. So if you physically are under the oppression of sadness and despair, somewhere along the line, you have to break that triangulation. You have to say, now what? And the easiest thing, and I say this because it's one of the easiest things you can do, is to do one thing, and that's movement. It
Hmm.
cannot be underestimated. It cannot, because you said it yourself. I have a gym trainer for weights and I feel better. I'm emotionally able to handle things. I'm mentally more capable to deal with things. One thing today, and that's movement. And when I put it in adjusted reality, it was to get people to understand there's a quaternary of movement, and that's four pieces. So we're going to start with, there's the flexibility. There's the actual ability to move, the mobility. There is the um, balance. So flexibility, mobility, stability. How balanced am I? And then there's the most important, in my personal opinion, which is capability, which is the ability to handle the weight. Now, you could say, are you talking back again, physical and emotional? Yes, but I can focus on physical for this moment and say, capability is your ability to actually maximize your type 2 fast twitch fibers. Oh, McAllister, you went way off the train here. Back it up. So what I'm really talking about is, in order for you to live a good health span, you have to have muscle. Simple. We all get that. But why is muscle important? Because without muscle, you don't get the chance to be stable. So stability goes, flexibility goes, and you don't get a chance as you're aging to catch yourself. So if you need to like run from a lion, which
Yep.
hopefully you don't today, but you may actually have a slip on a stair and you catch yourself very quickly because you have fast twitch fibers.
Right.
But you see the elderly that are aging and they're skinny and they're lost muscle mass, and they're really the predisposition of a fall waiting to happen.
Hmm.
And that's where I think, if we start somewhere, and that somewhere is movement,
Hmm.
you get to decide how all of that movement changes your life, because I guarantee it, it will change your life. The more movement you have, the more oxygen, the more need for nutrition, the better the digestion, the more capable and cognitively aware you are. And now we're going to talk about function, which is where chiropractic fits in. There's no better way. And I've talked to all sorts of doctors. Trust me, I've done this 100 times and said, what doctor has the greatest capability to move you where you are today to where you want to go tomorrow? And it should be someone who is focused on structure and function, which is a chiropractor.
Hmm. There's a lot of different ways to express the art, the modality of the chiropractic nature. There's different, people use devices, it's movement, it's different cracks, it's different whatever. Um, how do you organize it? It's so big. How do you organize it? And do you get to a place where there's a piece of universality? Are there some pieces of universality where people can come into it and they can kind of then start to choose where the direction that they need to go in their life. If that makes
Well,
any sense. I don't know if that
yes,
makes
it
sense at
does.
all.
Actually, you made
Okay.
perfect sense for me because I get this question a lot. So I'm going to start with the question that I get. How do I choose a good
Okay.
chiropractor? And that makes me
Okay. There we
smile.
go.
And I'm going to pull back for a second. First and foremost, you need to know what you actually want because there are different variations on the theme and techniques. So if you're a person, just going to give an example,
Hmm.
who wants a very gentle touch, that you have some reservations about getting your neck adjusted because you were told the myth, this is a myth,
Right.
that chiropractors cause stroke, and that is 100% documented in research and quantifiably wrong.
Yeah.
And I want you to recognize that as a listener. If you heard that, it is 100% inaccurate by the level to which we've been able to research it, where it says there is no causation to stroke by a chiropractic hand. It is about association, which often means that you're having a stroke and you walk into a medical doctor's office or a chiropractor's office, neither of which caused it. You walked in with it. Okay.
Yep.
That's a very different scenario. But now you want to actually ask yourself, I want a gentle adjustment. Excellent starting point. Now you need to
Hmm.
find the technique. And as someone who is like probably the first time in chiropractic, you didn't even know there were different techniques. So you need to do your homework on what you're looking for, what you want to optimize so that you get the doctor that you want. It's kind of like picking a pill. There is not a pill for every ill. You cannot walk in the pharmacy and get that generic medicine and think it's going to be just as good as the one that was first generation because they're not the same. And oftentimes over time, yes, I'm going to get all your readers and listeners saying, oh, no, 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 generics can be just as good. Well, logistically, generics had to start from somewhere.
That's
And oftentimes they came from R&D, research and development. So if the pill's not working for you, what do? Do you just give up? No, you go back to the doctor, you say, hey, you know what? That pill that you gave me is not doing the trick. And the
yep.
doctor goes, oh, well, let's put you on a second generation. Maybe it's an antibiotic, you need something like that. So that's where I want your listeners to really reflect on is first and foremost, can I find a chiropractor to help me walk the path of prevention? The answer is yes.
Hmm.
And if I don't seem to coalesce with that chiropractor, then I think you need to vote with your feet because not every chiropractor, like not every lawyer and not every physical therapist or massage therapist is going to give you what you need. Only you can do that. So I've had hundreds of massages and I've had maybe 5 that were like epic. Like I walked out of there and I
Mm-hmm.
felt like I was 10 years younger. And that's where when you find that massage therapist, unfortunately, this one was in Brazil, you want to be able to say, I want that for my lifestyle. I want to budget so that I can get that massage therapist. Not a massage. I want
Hmm.
that massage therapist because I did my homework. And yes, men listening to this podcast, getting a massage is a beautiful thing for you. And many men will say, nah, I don't need that. Oh, trust me. Trust me, if you just try it, you might like it.
Uh, hard to argue that. Yeah, but the just try it thing, and for whatever many of us boys have got our blocks, right? When it comes to that stuff, we don't want to show weakness. We think it might be too decadent. We might not deserve it. Yeah, that's probably a big part of it, right? Self-image. Yeah, guys, you deserve that massage. So
Yeah.
okay. So why do they deserve the massage? We've gotten to that. We've established they deserve the massage. What is good about the massage? What's the massage? Where's the gateway into better health with the massage that comes from that?
Well, it's quite beautiful when we start talking about what does the soft tissue do for us. And
Hmm.
that's where we really begin to focus on how our alignment for our muscle, our ligaments, our joints, our
Hmm.
skeletal framework, and all of the vascular tissue that surrounds it and the nervous system come together. So I like to say the massage is kind of like the beginning to the alignment. And when I say that, it's alignment is the key word that every chiropractor stands behind. The alignment affects the efficiency of life, period. Alignment affects the efficiency of life. If you are aligned, and this is philosophical as well as physical, if you are aligned, everything is in balance. And what we used to be taught is something called homeostasis. Many
Hmm.
of you remember your grade 5 biology class. Oh, we need to focus on homeostasis. That is an internal balance. It's the internal balance that happens within a system. But what I want people to hear is when you're in alignment, you have full control of allostasis, what goes on externally and what goes on internally. And that's where I call harmony. And if
Mm.
people would recognize harmony, it has been said in many really smart books like the Bible, it's called peace. And when you have peace, you are cognitively connected to all of the pieces that matter. So the physical alignment influences the energy that you expend every day. And if you do not feel worthy of starting with a massage, then please find a chiropractor, because I guarantee you, when you lay down on their table
Mhm.
and they begin to talk about alignment, they will push on those areas in your muscle tissue that you'll be like, "Whoa, I didn't know I had that." And
Yeah.
then you'll start to recognize what true alignment really means.
You do such a good job. You are such a good face for this for what it is that you do. You are such an amazing representative, Sherry. for-
You're very
oh my
kind. Thank
gosh.
you.
No, 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 no. It's so easy to listen to you, and I want to pick your brain. If there's one or two, like, are there things in your practice, in your journey, really, because that's really what it is. You've gone some amazing places and are going some amazing places. um, are there consistencies? Are there things where it's like, you know what? These one, two, three things are the things that keep bubbling up to the surface in all sorts of different arenas. Are there things that we do, knuckleball things that we as humans do, that if we just knocked out one or two of those things, if we just adjusted one or two of those things, we could drastically change our life?
See, you said the beautiful word, adjust. Okay,
Hmm.
when you think about chiropractic, I want you to think about 2 words. Alignment, that's one, and
Yeah.
adjust. Okay, so if you take these 2 A words and you put them together, it's functional about what I'm about to say. So,
Okay.
there is a extremely important past historian and very, very bright man. His name is Benjamin Franklin, and he had a quote, "An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure." You've heard your grandmother say it.
Yes.
But it's so true. And so when I start going into the circles that I'm in, I keep reminding people that if you invest in prevention today, you protect performance tomorrow.
Hmm.
And that could be the performance you want on an intimate level with your partner, or that could be performance in your success in your career. The question is, why don't you see it important as an investment? And so over and over again, I'm given the same question. It comes back to, what do we want in our lives and how do we want it to play out? And what I hear is, well, I don't want to get older because getting older is really bad, because you hear all the stories, right? Well,
Right.
I hear the funny stories because I'm going to see tomorrow my 95-year-old mentor, who is unbelievable in terms of where he's been and what he has accomplished in his 95 years. And he said to me, if I knew I was going to live this long, I would have taken better care of myself.
Go figure. Who would have thought, huh?
And so if we want to be wise, it's learning from the wisdom of others. That's really what wisdom is. It's learning. You don't have to experience it yourself. You just have to hear the wise people talk and then incorporate it into your life. Well, if that's the case, then I'm going to tell you right now, there's a secret to success. There is a secret sauce that everybody needs to recognize. And that is and will be and will always be about having the efficiency of energy to flow through your body. And it
Mhm.
sounds very esoteric, but it's exactly what happens when you put a plug in the wall. You want the flow of energy, otherwise you won't actually get your cell phone charged.
Yep.
Okay? When you understand energy, it's not esoteric anymore. It becomes fundamental to everyday life. And it's the efficiency of your body in alignment that allows the expenditure of energy to influence your physical alignment. That was a lot.
It's okay. So how? Is it just like everything you're talking about here? There are guys who are like, okay, I want this. I want this right now. Is it a matter of okay, go interview some chiropractors and see, like what's the first step?
Step
Is the
s
first step,
Yes,
stuff
first
we can do
step,
ourselves?
you need to pick a chiropractor,
Okay.
and it's an easy step. 'Cause fundamentally, you could fall down and find the absolute phenomenal one, but you do what you do with everything. When you wanna buy a car, do you just go to one car salesman and go, "Hey, I wanna
Mhm,
buy a car," and he'd be like, "Whoa, well, what kinda car do you want? Do you
mhm,
want a Lamborghini? Do you want a Ferrari? Tell me what you want." So, first and foremost, know what you're looking for. So, if you want prevention and you go online and you're kind of intimidated because you don't know where to start,
mhm,
find by going on, so you can go on our website, f4cp.org/find a doctor,
mhm.
and you do a location check because that's like bare minimum work. Okay. You go into your and you put in your location of where you live. Okay.
Yep.
And then you'll get 5 pop-ups. Now, is it too hard to go through those 5 pop-ups and read their website and say, "You know what? This guy's totally about prevention and optimization. I'm in." Or perhaps you're the person who's sitting there hunched over your computer, your neck hurts every time you turn it, and your low back is stiff when you get up. Then you may want to resonate with the doctor who's saying, "I do my maximum work in alleviating pain, especially low back and neck." Well, bingo, you got your guy. Now, let's say you end up at the low back alleviation pain doctor and you really don't like him. He didn't look up
Right.
at you, he didn't hear your story, he doesn't care about you. You feel it. You're a number in the cogwheel. Then you
Yep.
walk over and you find the performance and enhancement doctor and you go, "I did my job. I didn't go to one car dealership. I went to all of them. I knew
Right.
exactly what car I wanted and now I got the best price."
Right.
And that's I mean, you can't get any simpler than that. Start
No.
today. Pick your location, find your zip code, find the doctors around you, and then just start interviewing them. You may have to go in and pay some money. That's your investment. But at the end of the day, the worst thing you can do is not get your car maintained because you're going to have a bigger bill at the end. The worst thing you can do is not get your car maintained and end up on the side of the road. The worst thing you can do is ruin your engine because now you're useless. So
Mhm.
start today. Recognize you don't want to go into the chiropractor when you're breaking down. You want to build up. So use it as a maintenance moment. Now, people hate that word, and I do too.
Mm.
Maintenance for a human body. That sounds really bad. I would say personalized care to optimize your performance. That's how I would put it. I want
Personalized care to
personalized care.
optimize your performance. Personalized
Yes.
care to optimize your performance. I love that. Yep.
That's it. That's your goal. I want personalized care. Don't treat me like yesterday's leftovers. Treat me like today. Treat me like the body that I have today. Because, if women were listening, they'd get this analogy. It is you can open your closet and you can see generations of who you were. There's the
Oh,
size 3, there's the size 4, there's the size 6. No, today you're clearing them all out. You're a size 8, deal with it.
yep.
Today, you're the man that you are because of the choices you made, and here you're listening today, and I love you. I love that you're listening today. So be who you are today, be authentic and real, and go get a chiropractor. That's it. End of story. It's simple.
Sure. I appreciate the way that you are able to simplify this stuff. You're able to take this stuff and go into the real philosophical, then you can bring it back into the real practical. And I appreciate that about you. Um, I want to get into adjusted reality and talk a little bit more about that and where you're going, the direction you're going here in a second. And I almost want to I want to broach this. I'm going to broach the subject.
Okay.
I want to use the P word because okay, we're talking about the idea of us being preventative, personalized care to optimize performance. That's phenomenal. Wouldn't it be great if our entire healthcare system was really wrapped around that idea? And I think that there are examples of it in the world, in different cultures, and there are some places where it does happen, and of course subsects in North America as well. I mean, you look at all the CrossFitters and all these people who they're optimizing and they're going down this path. um one of the places that we are going down is with cutting edge science combined with nutrition, the building blocks of life. Let's talk about peptides a little bit. Peptides are all over the place. I'm super curious what your opinion on them are as a tool, and are we worried at all about people just looking for the magic pill and thinking, oh, it's the magic pill, it's not about the process of optimizing performance, but instead we're just going to take the pill and hit the reset button? I'm super curious what your take is on them, Sherry. I'm sure it's a unique one.
Well, it is unique because I always start from the foundation. That's what I
Okay.
represent, the foundation. And it happens to be the foundation for chiropractic progress. So
Yep.
my job is to ensure that at the foundational level, you understand what you're doing and why you're doing it.
Right.
So my first step when we start talking about the concerns about peptides
Yeah.
is quality. That's honestly my biggest concern is
Yep.
quality. We've come
Yep.
onto the market very quickly with the peptide process, and we want to understand the quality. When you, I don't depend, if the FDA says, oh, these medications should be over reviewed, that's not where I want to go. I'm not talking about,
Mm.
is it regulated for purity and potency? That's not it. What I'm really
Yep.
talking about is when you get a peptide in your life, you have to understand that you're taking something that you need to fully appreciate for you. This is back to personalized. So, what is the research behind it?
Mhm.
Because well, sometimes there's not research and there's good reason to do it because that happens in chiropractic all the time. Like, we do not have a lot of research on the breastfeeding for women, okay, for babies is the latching on experience. For men, like, how do we help a man with who has benign prostatic hypertrophy? Their prostate has a problem. We don't have a
Mhm.
lot of research on that, but we do know that it's helpful in many cases that they don't have the symptoms, the cause to which we need to figure out too. So
Right.
when we talk about peptides, I think one of the big things we have to recognize is what are the long-term effects of
Mhm.
taking a peptide? Because here's why I say that. Peptides influence cell signaling. Remember, my background was cellular, molecular, microbial biology.
Yes.
There's growth factor impact. For women and men, it's hormones and the immune pathways. And what I want to say, and this might infuriate some of you, is that these peptides do not have a lot of research on long term
Mhm.
consequences because they're
Mhm.
essentially, when you think about how long they've been on the market and how much research is being done on them, not as much as we want.
Yeah.
And I'm not knocking you for taking them. I'm saying take them wisely and understand what they can do. So let's talk about just one piece of it, hormonal disruption. I think this is a big part. So we talk about peptides and how they're released.
Mhm.
Now, one piece of that is your own blood sugar levels, your insulin sensitivity. That's a personalized thing because mine is different
Yeah.
than yours.
Yeah.
So, can I honestly say to you, you should be taking this much peptide to get this impact? I cannot because I don't have the same blood sugar regulation as you,
Mhm.
insulin sensitivity as you,
Mhm.
joint discomfort as you.
Mhm.
Maybe there's other natural products that you're taking that may actually coordinate with this. So, it's not just an easy answer because you are who you are doing what you're doing with the impact of 5 years ago sitting here today. Whoa. So what do I need to look for? Well, I think if we're going to be honest with each other, we have to have a practical framework that we need to address. The bottom line, why are you taking them? What do you expect to get out of that? And what are you currently missing? And then you can go into picking the right one and having someone with you, because this is a big part of it, that can walk the walk with you. So example,
Mm.
let's say just for an example, you take a GLP-1 and it happens to be the one that you hear as a commercial or an ad,
Uh-huh.
and that commercial or ad says, and here are all the side effects. Okay, who's going to really pay attention to the side effects? There's
Mhm.
only one person who can do that, and that's you.
Yeah.
And my biggest fear for some of our population is they don't recognize the long-term impact, such as bone strength. Here's a stat. Now, I know we're on a men's podcast and I love the men, but this is a startling statistic is 50% of the women over 50 will suffer with a fracture because of bone health.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a lot of men that are going to have the same impact. And the question is, how did you get there?
Mhm.
So most people over 65 are breaking their bone and then falling. It wasn't the fall that broke their bones. Think about that. That's a reality check right there. It's called an adjusted reality. You break your bone because it's brittle and it can no longer withstand the forces of gravity, and then you fall. And then the doctor says, "Oh, your fall caused your break." Oh, no, 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 it didn't. When my DEXA scan came back, I was osteoporotic 5 years ago and no one told me.
Okay.
Now, that's where I wanna go. I want
So
people
how
to
many people out there
recognize
right now are thinking, "Oh, I need that scan"? Should be
DEXA
everybody.
scan,
Should be everybody.
100%. I am a big proponent because I do treat a lot, of people having these questions. I
Yeah.
don't treat them physically anymore. I treat them when they ask me questions. "Here's my lab. What do you think, doc?" And it's like, okay, what I don't know is I don't know what your bone scan looks like. And
Yeah.
when I don't know if you're osteopenia, which is you're starting to get closer to osteoporosis, then we have a whole different conversation.
Mhm. Um, I appreciate your answer to that question, and we didn't do a pre-interview beforehand, and so thank you very much for accepting that curveball the way that you did because, you take the mentality that we've inherited, and that mentality is you just take a pill, instantaneous relief, right? Like, let's treat the symptom, all of that. Well, now we're taking substances, that can do a lot more than what, say, a Tylenol can do for a headache, but we're looking at it with the same mentality as, "Oh,
Yes.
it's obesity." Or it's, "Oh, I wanna have stronger muscles," or it's, "Oh, I want to heal faster," whatever it is. Okay, but it's not just an Advil or a Tylenol for a headache. This is something bigger than that. And if I hear you properly, it's consistent with everything that you've been talking about. It's mindfulness. It's the idea of, okay, let's ask some questions, some personalized questions about us. Let's do some personalized scans and find out what it is that we're dealing with here, so we can optimize and move forward in the best way possible. Am I hearing that right?
You're absolutely right, and if I could be even bolder to say, you have the capability to request a DEXA scan when you get your preventative exam, and many chiropractors will say, "Let's just get a DEXA scan to see where we are today." Now, if you're normal, then you want to have that T-score. This is getting, into the riff, but just remember, negative 1.0 or higher is normal.
Mhm.
Osteopenia is somewhere between -1 and -2.5. So when you get your DEXA scan back and it's like right in the normal range, it's like, hallelujah, let's carry on. We're doing right things. We're doing all the things that make my bone structure, the framework, the foundation of your body incredibly strong.
Mhm.
But let's be honest, we do bad things and we do them often, and they
Mhm.
tear from our bones. And that, I think, is why we need to have honest conversations about who we are personally based on our risk factors. It's different for someone who smokes, for someone who's drinking alcohol, who's someone who's never taken a vitamin D in their life, for someone
Mhm.
who's had corticosteroids. Because my bodybuilders are the first ones to say, and they say it secretly, "Dr. McAllister, I've been taking corticosteroids. I've had steroid injections for 5 years." And it's like, "Why are you whispering at me?" "Well, I don't want anyone to know." "Well, you're safe with me." So be honest with yourself. If you've been doing these things, then you need to come to the moment where a DEXA scan is imperative for you, because as you age, you wanna age with grace. You wanna
Mhm.
age with a good health span so you
Mhm.
can build on your longevity, and your years built will be beautiful.
You are the right person to do this. It's so funny. I think about what you've seen in your career and the changes that you've seen. And then I think about some of the recent stuff. Well, podcasts aren't that old. It's a fairly new technology. Obviously writing books and things like that. Um, as your career has evolved, as it's moved in, as some of these things have come up, it just feels like you are just the right person for the technologies to move in the culture to move in the direction, because you're really good at taking these big concepts and really boiling them down and simplifying them for mere mortals like myself and many of the people who listen to this show. Do you enjoy? You look like you enjoy. Do you enjoy the hosting? Do you enjoy this part of what it is that your career has morphed into?
Absolutely. It is for me, it's the most exciting part of my day is the conversations. I love writing
Yeah.
because it makes me think.
Yeah.
And when you think through these pieces, then you actually can have clarity. Clarity is key. You can't direct someone if you're not clear. And
Yeah.
many medical doctors I've gone to, they're not clear. They say, "Oh, you could do this or that or this." And same with chiropractors. I'm not picking on medical doctors, but without clarity, then the job becomes much more difficult for the patient to figure out, well, what am I going to do? Like, you gave
Yeah.
me all these options. I don't even know which one I should pick. And when I get up in the morning and I can learn from someone else and I can actually begin to hear the value proposition, how can I use the words you give me and change my life from them? That's where I really get inspired.
I appreciate that very, very, very much. And you are inspired. And I listen to your show and it's like, let's talk a little bit about adjusted reality, because I mean you got some really cool guests that come on there. I'm a UFC guy, so seeing Jens Pulver on was a real delight for that one. What is the podcast? Has the podcast taught you anything? Has it surprised you in any way?
It has surprised me in many ways because the depth that people want to go varies. And
Mm.
what I've learned is sometimes pressing them into the uncomfortable makes the best podcast. You
Oh
can
yeah.
read them and you can see what makes them uncomfortable. Jen's is the perfect person for that.
Yeah.
When I started to talk to him and started to thinking about he's not a big man, and he
Yeah.
had a lot of, opportunities to really be, challenged, and as someone that I see, he had to not only be explosive for the type of art he has taken on, but, um,
Hmm.
I love that, he's a southpaw stance, and
Mm-hmm.
he could take that and use it as his advantage. Someone like him and his personal story where, you come into, the story from an abusive childhood. He You could see it. Did he wanna talk about it? No, but he
Mm.
opened up, and he gave my listeners something that I think is so beautiful. He became, as his autobiography shows, that little evil. One ultimate fighter's rise to the top was one of the key things that I got. How did he do it? Because he actually came to the difficult places. He discussed his trauma, he discussed how he had to persevere, and that's what inspired not only the athletes around him, but his fans saw it. He knew what it meant to be, and he showed up every day to be the best he could be given all of the circumstances. And he was very good about talking about mental health, which I think for many people it's got such a stain on it because he was like, "Oh, that guy's crazy." Well, why are we even saying those things? You don't say that about someone who hurt their back. So why do you say that about someone who has like a brain injury? Um, and he comes forth with courage, conviction, and discipline. And I really love that when I get into the guest lives, they share their discipline because they're there for a reason and they got to
Yeah.
where they are because of discipline. And
Yep.
that comes back to the reality is discipline is exactly what needs to happen if you want to have that beautiful moment in your life. And it's that William Durant quote, which drives me every day. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act. It is in fact a habit.
And I'm just going to throw out there for anybody who if you want a crash course in changing your habits, there's a book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Dr. Stephen Covey. I love that book. If you learn one thing in it, it's just to how you communicate with people, reactive versus proactive language, things like that, little teeny tiny things that can be given to you that can put you on the road to habits of, yes, a Jens Pulver, a guy who has gone to the highest of the highs in his profession, which is combat sports. You think about, it's a physical pursuit. It's a physical pursuit. And what is he talking about? Dealing with the mental part, dealing with the emotional part. They're all related to each other. They're a triangle that are related. And when you've only got, when you talk about this, 2 seats to a stool, no, you need that third seat. And if one of the legs is shorter than the other, it's that stool's not going to stand up. So oh man, Sherry, I could do this with you all day. I really appreciate just kind of sitting down. You're like you're a learning tree, a really lovely learning tree. I just appreciate this. Talk about where you're going now as we kind of move over to I hate that we got to close. I want to have you back on, especially as we grow. I know Joel is like chomping at the bit to find ways to take many of the things that you highlight and put them into the He Changed It app, or the We Changed It world. Where are you going? Where's adjusted reality going? Where are some of the things that are challenges for you that you want to see overcome? Again, not just based on yourself, what you see, but an entire modality that you help represent. Where are you guys going? What are you doing? How can people find you?
First and foremost, I think if you really enjoyed this conversation, and I hope you did, adjusted reality will give you that
Mm,
opportunity to have that win-win. And you brought it up, the
absolutely.
7 habits of highly effective people, that win-win. You want to approach everything in your life believing that, yes, you can succeed. And rather than treating it as someone's going to lose and someone's going to win, it's a win-win. And I believe that one of the key pieces is, as a physician, they should seek first to understand you and then to be understood. So you have to be able to listen
Mm,
before you speak. And if that doctor doesn't give you a chance to speak, find someone else. Where adjusted reality is going is we have a monumental moment. So many will remember Harry Potter, J.K. Rowling. She came out with a hardcover book. It was called Harry Potter. It's really
mhm.
small. Everybody wants to read it. Um, she was small until someone picked her up over the pond and said, I think we need to make Harry Potter into a paperback in the UK. And then she became a phenomenon, like a
Mhm.
literal phenomenon. And every little person wanted a Harry Potter book. Well, we are now recognized by Forbes as one of their top books in Forbes books. We have multiple really gracious awards. Independent Book Award is a global award, and we recently just received that. But now they're making us into a paperback in the UK. So, am I excited? Over the moon, because now the message has gone
Mm.
from one of the most power places on earth, the United States of America, and our brothers that are right beside us, our Canadians, which I'm giving a shout out to all my Canadians because we love them, to now going across the pond over to the United Kingdom, and the book will be released in paperback in the UK in October. So it's such a win-win, but it comes down to, again, it's the people that you meet. And being on this podcast is one of those beautiful moments where you get to share. And hopefully, when your listeners hear, they understand how much I truly care. I want them to get the care that they need, they deserve, and they choose.
Oh, you are so sincere, and you are a communicator that I aspire to be. I really do. If people want to find you, Sherry, where's the best place to find you? Where's the best place to
Well,
follow what it
depending
is
on
that you're
your
doing?
age, you can find me on Facebook.
Oh, I'm a
So
Facebook guy too. I'm very
that's
much a
it.
Facebook guy.
Dr. Sherry McAllister, follow me on Facebook, Instagram if you're younger. Yes, I have an Instagram, Sherry McAllister. You'll find me there. I love my young people because they keep me really, truly honest. My
Mhm.
Facebook page is really about loves and giggles, so you can find me there and let me know that you heard it here on your podcast, heCast. I love it. And I'm there for you. But if you want to find a chiropractor today, F the number 4cp.org/find a doctor will get you started. And that journey then is what I love to say. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. And that is Jack LaLanne's favorite quote, coming right out of his wife's mouth, Elaine LaLanne, who is on Adjusted Reality, the podcast.
Oh, that's I love hearing that. The personal development isms, I can take them all day. I love them. It changes the way that you look at life. How many of us need that right now? I mean,
Yeah.
Sherry, thank you so much. You literally are, and don't get me wrong. We don't put each other on pedestals because we think that, we're perfect or whatever. I put you on the pedestal because you are trying to make the world a better place, and it's not the easiest thing in the world to do. And the way that you can put that smile and that attitude and the optimism on, despite the challenges that I know that you face, and the setbacks, and the what must just be frustrating beyond measure to have corporations who have their profit and things like that that are the agenda, and trying to put a message of light through to organizations like that. It cannot be easy. The adversity that you have come up against over in your career must have been just absolutely astounding. It must be astounding to this day as you're trying to get this message through. I just want to say thank you very much for trying to make the world a better place. It is infinitely clear that that is exactly what it is that you're doing and that you've zoned in. And despite what life can bring, the ups and downs and all of that, boy, living your purpose is sure a lot of fun. And it really feels, Sherry, that like you're living the purpose that you want to be living right now.
Oh, well, thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
This is we talk about how why we this is do the show. This is why we do the show. This is exactly why we do the show. To have conversations like this, insights like this. I just appreciate every single person that takes the time to listen to this. If you haven't downloaded the He Changed It app yet, what the heck are you thinking? Go download it. Go to hechangeit.com. Check out what we're all about. Like, share, subscribe the show, and then yeah, go check out Adjusted Reality. It's a phenomenal show, and for someone that wants to take a deeper dive into looking at improving your life, there's no better show to listen to for these examples. And maybe you can take those examples and you can overlay them on your life. That's exactly what He Changed It's all about. Thank you so much for taking your time and giving us some of your time for this. Has been another episode of heCast, the official podcast of He Changed It. My name is Mike Chisholm. Go change something.